You should know why Varys is after me. Why he wants my
Testicles, yes. There's something unique about the gonadotrophin releasing hormone your body produces. Your cells are regenerative and hence immortal. Your hand will grow back in a week.
maybe less.
I work for Earth Central Intelligence. They want the same thing as Barris, but I'm no bounty hunter. They wish you to come willingly,
Why?
because whoever decodes your reproductive system controls, in effect, immortality. This knowledge could destabilize the entire protectorate.
Why not just kill me? Problem solved.
Earth Central does not suppress knowledge.
Morality is a human construct. I thought alls didn't give a shit.
They were created to protect the greater good. Will you come? Dun 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 dun.
He
That's
comes.
a big question.
He comes.
You have to watch the show to find out what he says.
He comes later. But you know what's coming in this new episode? Your Captain
Okay.
Chaos. Who else we got
Okay.
here?
Hello and welcome again for another episode. As you can tell, I am back. I am.
Robert T.
I am.
We have a Robert. He could deal with this one. Yay! And I'm the cyborg mad scientist Ray. I am actually 1% cyborg. See, right
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, take note, guys. Nicotine patches make you cyborgs.
there.
By definition, yes.
What do we call it? An aid or an upgrade?
Upgrade.
Upgrade.
I go for
Ray,
I'm
so next
replacing
time I want to
I'm
make a
sure.
video showcasing you, Ray. You're gonna put your arms like this. You're gonna do like this, and you're gonna say, "It's time to chrome the fuck up."
Plastic and a little bit of electronics. It's hardly chrome.
Hey, man, you got a whole new circulation system and everything. Remember?
No, not quite. No. So, what have you guys been watching?
I go.
Moving on. Moving on.
We are right now. We're in season 2 of Voyager, and it's getting interesting. I can't wait for her to get to season 4, though. I think that's the introduction of 7 of 9. But
Of course. A pivotal moment in Star Trek history.
yeah, pretty much. You get to see poor Harry Kim trying to, seduce 7 of 9, and
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Harry Kim. He's always trying, and never gets with anyone. Poor thing.
He's like the grind lime on Orville.
No, at least the green slime got somewhere. Kim didn't.
Yeah. Hey,
I thought he never did,
does that
bro.
mean
Yeah.
does that mean Harry Kim's into orgies if he's trying to seduce someone from the collective?
Oh Lord.
The funny thing is that she's straightforward, and she said, "Oh, you want to copulate?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
It's way too funny. So who's next?
The Borg, you can't handle the Borg.
Nice.
I finished. Sorry,
You
wanna
go,
go
Ray.
first?
You go, Ray. You
Okay.
go, Ray.
I finished the in inverted commas new Battlestar Galactica, if you can call it new 20 years on. Finished a rewatch of that. The final episode always gets me right in the feels with breaking the back of the Galactica. Yes, spoilers, but it was 20 years ago, guys. I'm sure some of you weren't born when I was watching this the first time. So, great show. We're going to cover Battlestar Galactica. Aren't we, Robert?
Yes. And by the way, I don't know if you guys might not know, but if you see us on Jacked Up Reviews, we are actually scheduled to talk about Battlestar Galactica, the 2000 show. So just something to look forward to.
And get your white chicks into your internal white chick spirit on, because we're gonna see a lot about the origins of Starbucks.
Mm.
It's true, right?
Oh dear.
That's what you
The other thing,
Then
the
you
other
see
thing I
the
was just
real
watching was
Starbucks, right? Galactica.
well, yeah, there's a whole lot of Starbucks.
Yeah.
The other thing I've been watching, I was actually, while we were putting the notes together for this show, I was trying to catch up on Shangri-La Frontier, the latest episode. I just love that show. Not only is it epic with the fights, like a 4-episode fight scene.
Oh, yeah.
It goes on forever, but the wash up of that, watching the developers fighting inside the server room, like throwing punches because they're pissed off. They beat the monsters.
Oh, no.
Crack me up. Shangri-La Frontier is so good value. Everyone should check it out. And it's long. Like they're in the second core already. So
I got one question for you, Ray.
Hmm?
Do they die at the end?
well, they can respawn. So
Because then I wouldn't like it. You know me.
No, they can respawn. It's all right. It's all right, Robert. It's not going to emotionally scar you.
I feel better now.
Robert, our previous episode, Callister Robert tried to watch it and got halfway through and had to turn it off.
Yeah, couldn't. So I hope you guys enjoy it because I didn't.
Black Mirror is not for Robert. It's just
And I tried. I put it on and I thought I was gonna like it. I said, "Oh, I might get into this." When it started, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's a Star Trek homage with some very dark overtones. Not undertones, overtones.
Big, huge overtones. Maybe like well, actually a building.
Come on, man. It
Or a
was my next,
tidal
not
wave.
even genitalia. Right, Ray?
No, they took it away.
Yeah. There's not even genitals, man. It's like, it's so fresh vanilla. If somebody pull their pants down, nothing is going on. It's fine.
It
White
was very
flag.
Ken and Barbie.
Oh, yeah. I never thought about that, but you are definitely right there.
Yeah,
We
Ken
never
and Barbie
comment.
would have fit right in.
We really never comment about it when we were recording, but
Nope.
it was weird. Like he turning around and just kissing every single female in the crew. Like he's what the.
Yeah, that was weird. That was really weird.
To me, that's like it was a great taste of cringy humor, right? Right.
So cringy. So cringy.
It was like, wow, okay, all the questions I didn't dare to ask myself, I'm seeing them here. All answered.
So if you haven't listened to our previous show before this one, check it out, Callister. It's a good watch. Unless you're Robert.
And I'm glad.
Speaking of
the important thing is you guys enjoy.
Unless you're Robert, I love that conditioning.
unless you're Robert, that's right. We should have a hashtag unless you're Robert.
Unless you're Robert. Working on it.
Gio, what have you been watching?
Me, I've continued my rewatch. I think I recapped it since a little bit after Tsukasa Empire, so I'm watching Doctor Stone, and I think I stopped before like something happened in the last part, so I'm doing a rewatch. I'm afraid that I'm caught out, and I just didn't remember. But I'm watching that. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm playing at least 1 or 2 episodes every 4 or 5 days, just kind of like to reminisce. That's one of my favorite shows of all times, which happens to be very sci-fi and very, very philosophical, like way too fucking much.
My favorite is Gaiva.
Gaiva?
Gaiva.
Are you talking about Neo Genesis Evangelion?
Gaiva. It's that's the name of the anime. Gaiva.
Oh, Guyver. Like
Mhm.
MacGyver?
Not MacGyver.
No, not MacGyver. Gaiva.
Well, let's put it this way. It's some kind of like a sensationalized Amber Alert. Every freaking where. Oh, come on.
It is
Oh,
a
bro.
bioweapon.
I got an Amber Alert going on my camera. This is great.
Oh.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He's like a super sexy, glorified Go-Go Gadget guy.
Huh?
Ah!
I didn't see that, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's like, oh, gadget, this is and that. Like, he has everything on his armor. Okay.
Yeah, because this is a bio armor, so that's the coolest thing ever.
Bio armor. It's like, I need to pee. I don't need to go anywhere. I'll just fuel the machine.
Exactly.
Oh,
How very
Lord.
still suit of you.
Moving on. Anyways. And I've been playing also some more Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. I really like it because it's like very directed to like multiplayer game. So your campaign where you actually grow your character and everything, it's like you go building up your own character, and you have variety of characters, different jobs and things and class, so you can very customize to the detail your character and how he fights and everything. It's very fun. And you go discovering the story like that. So they go releasing you more and more different campaign missions as you progress. It's pretty cool. And it's co-op. I love a co-op game. And besides that, occupationally, I play Cyberpunk 2077. I usually just like to go take a stroll, kill a couple of gangs that are doing bad things, and upgrade some shit or change something on my set up on the character, and then play like that because I finished it way too many times now. I think I got all the endings.
Nice.
But yeah, that's been my sci-fi for the week.
Awesome. Okay, so now we move on to our next segment. We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is sci-fi.
And if you're new to the show, you might not know what this is, but if you have been watching or listening to our show, you know this is a segment where we feature the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. And why is this for? There's a lot of separation, which is, and again, I repeat this, it's quite all right. That there should be some separations. If you are following an IP and that's all you follow, you might want to go and follow that hashtag and follow, like-minded individuals. But the reason why this hashtag exists, that this is sci-fi, is because we want to cross IPs. We want to be able to share the love between, IPs, between what people enjoy, and it goes across IPs and it goes across mediums. So if you have a favorite book, if you have a favorite game, if you have a favorite movie, TV show that you really, really enjoy, and that's all you talk about, when you follow and post on the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi, you are actually letting, two things could happen. You could let other people know what you are passionate about when it comes to sci-fi, and they might discover something new, which is the case that I've seen multiple occasions where some people might not know otherwise of, unless they were involved in the hashtag about a certain IP, and now they found a new love and they're enjoying this new thing. And the other thing is that you are going to find some like-minded individuals that like the stuff that you like, and conversation would start. So we have chats, we have obviously we have the Discord channel, and you can actually communicate via all the social medias as well. All you got to do is follow the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. And if you have something sci-fi related that you want to let other people know, all you got to do is just add the hashtag to comment. That's all you got to do. And it will let everybody else know that one thing that you love the most. So can you guys, do you have a different perspective of This Is Sci-Fi hashtag that you can let maybe our new listeners know about?
I mean, I think that the very own nature of what a hashtag uh, is more than significance enough. I mean, why do you think that people created hashtags? Is to reach out there to the public, to the outer world, to share that whatever the hashtag is about. So just add them, and I mean, I even use it for video gaming topics sometimes. because there's some lores of video games that I love. They are like intricate, very deep. So it's a great way to find community. Don't go further. I mean, this is not podcast related per se, but it's about one of my favorite video games, and it's sci-fi. It's Gears of War. That I've been looking like crazy for groups so I can play with on a constant basis, different modes and the campaigns. And I have a group in Discord that I found just looking in communities in Reddit. That's what the only thing I look for Reddit is when I have a question or something. Unfortunately, yeah, followers. I don't like lose myself into the depths of that black hole. But I found this community, and like they're playing almost every day something on Gears of War, from the very very old ones to the new ones. So it's really fun. And I use that. This is sci-fi hashtag. Look for it.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. So that's a success story testimony. So you guys see how useful it can be to use it. So always bring it as an addition to whatever you're looking for that is sci-fi related, for real.
Definitely.
Well, to me, this is sci-fi hashtag is a funnel which creates Venn diagrams. I don't know if everybody listening knows what a Venn diagram is, but it's basically crossovers. So when you've got two siloed fandoms of IPs, but they're in the same genre, they wouldn't necessarily have a reason to cross over. And the This is Sci-Fi hashtag helps them cross over and discover each other. And that's the big thing. There's so much information out there on the internet, but how do you actually find out stuff in your wheelhouse that you're interested in? Well, hashtags are the way to do it. And the This is Sci-Fi hashtag, if you put that on your favorite sci-fi IP, then other people who are interested in other IPs can look for that hashtag and find your stuff and get interested in it too. One of the ways that we find out what's going on in the sci-fi community in podcasting and on Twitter, I have to call it Twitter or Geo gets very upset and bites my ankles. So we have to call it Twitter or he gets grumpy. Poor old man. But on X or Facebook or wherever you hang out socially on the internet, getting other people who are interested in other IPs, and there's new IPs coming up all the time. I mean, there's a new show based on Fallout. The video game franchise, which is coming out soon. I'm looking forward to that. I'll check that one out. So we'll definitely be covering that one, I think. But how do you find out about these things if you don't happen to fall across it on a social or on YouTube or somewhere like that? If we're all putting our favorite sci-fi IPs under this hashtag, this is sci-fi, then other people can find it, and you'll get more people to talk to about your favorite thing. And that's what we all want to do, which is why we do this podcast. So anyway,
awesome.
That's what it's for.
Nice.
I have a perfect diagram of reasons why this is sci-fi hashtag is important.
I don't know why I'm afraid to ask.
I actually have.
I don't blame you. I really
It's a
don't
good
blame you.
one though.
Are you going to show it, or are you going to make
Wanna
just
see
wonder?
it?
Yeah, throw it up.
No, I'm gonna just, of course, let me show you.
And we have to
Is your
describe.
computer going to break before it shows?
Some vicious-
We might have to describe it for.
No, I'm just working on putting it nice and big on the display. So now I can share the screen and you can actually see.
And my God. What's he going to do to us, Robert?
I don't know.
What do you think about that?
Okay. Yeah.
It kind of works.
Yes.
I would have added about
Explanation visually.
247
Oh,
other
this is-
IPs, but
I was gonna say about the same thing.
These
right?
are perfect, bro. These are perfect.
Yeah.
It's like
well,
putting
and
sci-fi
it's
fantasy
very.
together.
That said, it's very basic.
Space Cone.
Yeah.
Very basic, but
Was.
that becomes unruly by the time you add everything, right?
Yeah, it would get very messy.
Okay, and then our audience, they don't know what the heck is going on at all, what we are showing. And should we give them a little hint? Because I know.
I think it's worth giving them a hint.
Yeah,
I think
let's
it's worth
give it a hint because you will be able to watch this a month from now on our YouTube channel, and then you'll know what we were showing. But
Or if you're checking this out as back catalog, then you can probably go find it already.
Yeah, definitely.
But do me a favor. Once you do reach to the video and you see it, I'm talking to our audience. Just go to our Discord channel and let me know what team are you.
Oh
Okay.
yes. What?
I love Discord. Our server and the actual Discord.
Oh, nice, nice.
I'm team 7 of 9.
Okay. Is that a cue to move on to the next?
Oh, there's one other thing you got to
Yeah,
mention.
we're moving on to the next segment.
That there in the ticker.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you want to basically appear in the show, right? Because that's one way that you could do it. We have a hotline. You can call 1-305-563-6334. And you can leave a message. It could be a comment, it could be a question, and we'll basically play it on air and have a conversation around it. And of course, you can leave a comment also for us. You can, if you have something that we haven't done that you would love us to do, if you have a comment about an episode that we have done in the past, if you want to leave a message for Ray, if you want to leave a message for your very own Admiral Happy Endings here, or if you have a how should we call it?
Hate mail.
Yeah, for our very own Captain Chaos, you can leave it there as well, and we'll be able to play it and respond to it.
Dear.
Okay, so now we're ready for the next segment.
Shout outs.
Well, and for this shout out, guys, first I want to do a good shout out for Adrian Powers. You can find him on Instagram with his tag Adrian J Powers. He's a awesome film director that we had the honor to have an episode with on his very own movie, Bro Guys, a short movie, and it's actually a pretty cool concept. You can go and check that episode in our back catalog, and you can find all of his information. He's awesome. We just wanted to give him a shout out. He's coming actually with a brand new movie that is right in Robert Alley, very lovely rom com with airplane pilots. You know, it's his dream, right, Robert?
Yeah, yeah. The movie was called. Well, it is called "Love Is in the Air," and it's if you like that kind of stuff, it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. And the second one is for X Twitter. It's actually for one of my favorite podcasts to watch is Space Castle. You can find his tag at Space Castle Show on Twitter, and go right now, stop what you're doing, and check him on following YouTube and Twitter. Man, Deets, you are always making awesome videos, sparking great conversation about things that we all love. I enjoy so much the last one about the open world games. So many good points you made, and I can relate what you share, man. I think that his content is super awesome, man. I definitely love this show. What do you think? I think that you like it, Robert. Do you watch him?
I love it, and I know if you guys follow Space Castle from the beginning, you might have noticed a change because they were actually a podcast, and then they migrated to YouTube. And the content has always been great. We had him on our show.
Oh yes.
For Star Trek. I mean Star Wars. But
Yep.
his videos, I think he did the right move because the kind of content that he provides, I think is best illustrated in a video format, and he does great editing work.
Yeah.
I really enjoy his videos. So if you guys,
I actually watched his special 100th episode how he makes it the show, and it's very interesting.
Mhm.
It's what I tell you. Everything he posts is super interesting. It's like in an era with so much vanity and like things that have no really context or content on it. It's just trash TV. Content like that, it's amazing for me. You know, like I love watching things that teach you, that show you, that can spark up like good thoughts in your mind about certain topics that are sometimes difficult to learn about and things like that, or to discuss because nobody wants to talk about it, like what we do here. You know. and watching his podcast is just like that, you know.
Yeah. So I really, really enjoyed, and I think you could do yourself a good service. You know, you can pause us right now. We're on format.
Yes.
We'll be waiting. Go back, follow them, and go watch one of those videos. You come back and let us know what you think. We think you're really, really going to enjoy it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's all the shout outs for this episode, man.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to move on to the next segment.
Daily the Army News.
Well, unfortunately, there isn't any this week. We had to cancel the live stream because I was the only one who could make it. All the other guys were busy. And Jealous had to be on call for work, and Creaky was actually doing a powerlifting competition. He actually turned 74 just recently, and so he's not a young man, but he's a 74-year-old powerlifter. And he was competing, I believe it was in the national championships for his age bracket, and he has won it before. So pretty seriously awesome.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. I mean, we that's amazing. But go ahead and talk briefly about what the Elite Army channels are and how they can find. And I believe there's 2 streams, but from the Elite Army.
So there are 2 different channels. One is the Elite Army channel itself, which has 1,340 odd subscribers. We have live streams nearly every week. It doesn't quite work out that way every week, but it's I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern at the moment, but it's 9 p.m. GMT, and we try to stick to that every week, regardless of daylight savings, where it's on, and so forth and so on. So it moves around a little bit depending on your time zone, whether or not you've got daylight savings or not. But it's 9 p.m. GMT on the regular all throughout the year. So if you work out where your time zone is in relation to GMT, you can work out when the live stream is going to be on. I do throw out advertising on X/Twitter, Facebook, Discord channels, and Reddit to advertise what the topic's going to be and what the times are in your local time zone, if I know what your time zone is. So we do hand that information around so that you can find out when it's on. If you follow me on Twitter, which is Optimistic Aussie on Twitter /X, then you too can. It's about all I post, really. I don't really get involved in the arguments on Twitter particularly much. But I do drop these advertisements for the Elite live stream. That's Radio Chaos. The Elite live stream is actually on Creaky's channel, and it is about 23 hours before Radio Chaos. And they often have topics which relate to the topic that's on the following day. So, like if we have a watch party for Alita Battle Angel, which we had for the 5th anniversary of the film's release, they had a watch party for the OVAs, the anime version. So they tend to try and link up the topic unless they can't find a way to do it, and then they just do their own thing. But he's cracked 100,000 subscribers. So it's very impressive. He went from like 67,000 to 100,000 in like 2 weeks. I'm not entirely sure how, but he did it. He releases a lot of content, actually. He releases 3 videos about Alita every week. So that must be pulling in the subs. But yeah, he's pretty incredible. So I do recommend you check out his channel. If you haven't done so already, it'd be great if you could sub to both the Alita Army channel and Creaky's channel.
Definitely.
That would be fantastic.
Okay.
That's about all I got because we didn't actually have a stream. Sorry about that. We'll have one next week.
Nice. And don't be surprised if you see either all of us or any of us in the back catalog of that stream. We try to make an effort to be there since this is one of our favorite topics. If you watch or listen to our back catalog, you'll notice that we have 2 episodes on Alita. One of the anime, and the other one is for the movie. So hopefully we can have another one for Alita too.
Yes, that would be great. Bring it on.
Nice. Okay. So, before we go in, we move into the main topic of this episode. I want to say to the mad scientist here, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Forward.
This was a recommendation from a very own mad scientist here, and I really enjoyed this film. It's how long is it? Like, was it 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's not very long.
Yeah, it's not that long. As most Love, Death, and Robots episodes are, and we have covered a few already on this, and hopefully we can cover more because the content. You guys here talk about this in previous episodes. The content is really good. I think
it's about 17 minutes.
17 minutes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one that I don't like. But then again, I haven't watched all of the episodes yet. Point made here that this one over here, I watched today for the very first time. So they have been quite a few that I haven't seen yet. But this is one that I really enjoyed. So before we get into it, do we have something called, let me see, what was it called? The plot?
Plot? Yeah. I have a plot. And it's actually a plot on the fandom page for Love, Death, and Robots rather than on the wiki. So there you go. I'm sourcing from a different place. Let's hope that it still ends up being a functional plot. So anyway, a man is walking through a hot desert clothed to block out the nearby sun. He strolls into a nearby city where water thieves are placed standing upright in glass pods, baking in the sun as punishment for their crimes. He walks into a market where he picks up a rare supply from Earth from an alien named Egan. The man's name is Snow, and he happens to be pursued by bounty hunters hired by a man named Barris. We mentioned Barris in the quote at the beginning of the show. One of them, an alien woman named Vissa, approaches him in a bar with 2 men of the same species with her. She states that Barris wants Snow's testicles. She challenges him, and he kills her and one of the men she's with. The third, armed with a shotgun, blows off one of Snow's hands. But before he's able to kill Snow, he gets stabbed in the back by a woman named Hirald. Snow leaves, and the alien woman uses a communicator network to tell someone to contact Barris and get the team together. So basically an informant. Hirald follows Snow back to his tent. When it's too late for her to go back, Snow offers her a spot in his tent so that she won't take a beating from the sun, which is just rising. But it turns out that the woman doesn't have an altruistic heart because she's working for the Earth Central Intelligence Agency. She wants him to go back with her willingly because his cells regenerate, starting with the hand that will regrow soon, and she wants everyone to achieve immortality. Whoever decodes his reproductive system will unlock the key to immortality. Barris wants to capture Snow's reproductive system as well, but wants to take it from him by killing him without his consent. He asks Hirald why she doesn't want to kill him. She says that the EIC does not suppress knowledge. He responds in turn by saying how mortality is just a construct, which was our quote. She follows him to a little bungalow he has at the top of a mountain that he's lived in for many years. He tells her,
love.
yes, the tunnel of love. He tells her to make herself comfortable, and she finds a dress in the closet. Eventually, he tells her that it belonged to his deceased wife. She killed herself because she got old. He didn't, and is now a widower that has been alive for centuries. Snow and Hirald get it on. She wakes up later and Snow is gone, but she sees an alarm going off in the bedroom and realizes that on the monitor that a ship has landed near their hideaway. By the ship, Barris and his goons come walking out and move in to take out Snow. Snow kills the alien woman named Merc, and the one from before had spotted him in the bar. As the bounty hunters make their way up to the mountaintop, he tussles with a human named Geralda. He's about to put her down when one of her associates comes around the corner with a gun. He's a human named Jarit and is the husband of Gerala. Snow puts her between him and the giant weapon. Geralda pleads with Jarit to help her, but he chooses to shoot the giant cannon right through her, pulverizing her head in an attempt to kill Snow. Nice guy.
Yeah,
Snow,
husband, right?
yeah, husband, ex-husband now.
Wow, that is a bad way to get a divorce, man.
What the hell was with that ticker?
I don't know. I think my mind decided to ignore it somehow. I
Good
don't know.
plan. Good plan. Thanks, Chaos. Living up to your name there, buddy. Okay. Snow dodges the fire and escapes. A burly alien named Trot comes up behind him and shoots him several times, one shot blowing off Snow's left leg, another his right arm. Trot turns Snow over with his boot, and Snow manages to pull Trot to the ground and kill him. Geralt approaches and Snow, on the ground and maimed with limbs missing and blood everywhere, lies there and looks up. Geralt blames Snow for his wife's death, pulls a knife out and says, "After I've snipped your sack, I'm going to take my time cutting up the rest of you." A red light from a targeting scope distracts Geralt, and a shot from the side shoots him in the head and kills him. Hirald, having killed Geralt, approaches Snow. Hirald gets shot in the side of the head and falls. Barris approaches and shoots her body some more, causing sparks to fall. But strangely, didn't blow holes enough, which is important. Barris loads his gun and asks Snow why he lives on this godforsaken planet and is about to end his life when a giant synthetic robot arm busts through his chest and tosses him to the side. It's Hirald, now with half her face revealing that she's a cyborg. Later, back in the hideaway, she tells Snow that she was in an accident a long time ago and her body became synthetic due to it. But she is still partly human and has also been alone for a very long time, just like him. They kiss, cue credits. Or the little twiddly things at the end of each of the episodes. Oh, chaos. You're so chaotic.
Chaos. The albino chaos.
Yeah, pretty much.
This movie, for some reason, got me vibes of different IPs that I've seen. The scene where Snow went to get his the stuff that he's ordered at the let's call it store, whatever it was, reminded me of Star Wars. And
That's just a convenience store.
yeah, it reminded me of Star Wars in Rey when she went to get the food. One of the things that I really liked about this is the fact that it kind of have a mixture of sci-fi subgenres all in it. So it obviously has the big overtone of science fiction. It is basically post-apocalyptic. It is definitely cyberpunk. And I, you know how I feel if you follow this podcast for a while now, you know how I feel about cross genre sci-fi, and I get like that when it's like other genre, like we talked about, for example, the Aliens, it's horror sci-fi, and there's other stuff, horror comedy, romantic sci-fi, anything that you mix. And the more it has included with sci-fi, the more I seem to enjoy. But this one is unique in the fact that it's all subgenres of sci-fi. And I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I really appreciate that. Sci-fi is one of my favorite things, and this has a bunch of different subgenres within sci-fi, all included in one little 17-minute movie. What
In
what is
other words, it has sci-fi with some more sci-fi with a bit of sci-fi and a dash of sci-fi.
There you go. And that's how I like it. So
It's like the diabetes of sci-fi. Yeah. No, that's not that good.
It did remind me a lot of a lot of other IPs, I admit, but it didn't feel like it copied them. It gave its own. It was a bit of Dune, like you said, a little bit of Star Wars. It also reminded me a lot of Alita Battle Angel.
oh yes.
In Hirald's character.
Hell yeah.
And
when Ray saw that arm, he was like, Berserker? What the fuck?
oh yeah. But what I really liked was the lean storytelling. You got a lot of information and a whole bunch of little hints and things about what's going on in the wider galaxy of this story from their conversations. AI is running Earth, the Protectorate information destabilizing the Protectorate. All these little hints of a wider world, which is great story building. You didn't need to like have a huge multi-paragraph title role with all this information in it. You just drip feed it through the story, and it's very very finely paced. I thought that they did a really great job. Like you never even knew this was another planet until they said, oh, it's getting harder to bring things in from Earth. That immediately tells you it's another planet, but they didn't tell you it was another planet. So I really like the way just the general conversations explain things without explaining things, if you know what I mean. So I thought it was really well written in that regard. The animation was okay. It was sort of somewhere between computer gaming and TV 3D animation.
It felt like a computer game in cinematics, right?
Yes.
Well, the high-end computer game cinematics.
Yes.
But it wasn't. There was a little bit of uncanny valley there still, which was a shame.
Yeah, it's really weird because I didn't realize that I was watching animation until like maybe a minute into it, because of the uncanny valley.
Really?
It actually really lied to me at the beginning because I thought I was watching actual actors and cameras until like I was like, hold on a second, there's something that's not quite right. And like I want to say,
don't get it wrong. They are actual actors. I think at this level of cinematics, it's fully scanned face. I think.
Yeah.
Real 5.
But well, I'm assuming that they got scanned, kind of like how they did Alita. But
you mean motion capture?
Yeah, it would
sure.
That's how it worked.
For sure.
Yeah, they use motion capture, but I'm pretty sure they didn't use performance capture, which is the two cameras pointed at the face, to really get the facial movements. Because Snow's face was a bit stoic, a bit more stoic than a normal human's face would have been. So I suspect that they didn't have the budget to go all out, but I think they did a reasonably good job.
Are you sure?
Well,
Pretty sure.
You do have a point there because I don't know if you guys are aware on if you go to our back catalog when we did FTL, we had the writer and producer of FTL on the show, and he had a really good point in that conversation that we had with him, where he says that films like these, they're like 10, 15, 20 minutes long. They especially
Millions of dollars.
it's cheaper because there's not much that they there's that much runtime that they got to cover. So
that's a ticker from that show. Just sort of wheel it out again.
where your helmets. Yeah. And if you don't know what that means, go back to our back catalog. It was really, really cool of him. We really appreciate the fact that he, although this is a question that we had while we watched this movie, he did took the time to explain the reasons why. And I'm not going to go into details. All you got to do is you can just pause us right now, go back to our back catalog, listen to FTL, and then come back to us. But we really appreciate it. Can't wait to have him back on the show.
It's a real eye opener when you actually get to talk to a creator of a sci-fi IP, and you find out why things were the way they were. Like, that doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have the money, or something like that. You find out that there are limitations in these things.
Yeah. So one of the things, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is what I said earlier. It is cheaper to do, say, for example, a 17-minute movie when you account for budgets than trying to do like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie, where that's what it adds up in the big budget films, which still Space Sweepers, which is another one that we have in our back catalog. It's why Space Sweepers kind of baffled me, because they managed to shrink the budget so drastically that I have no idea. I mean, how they even manage, but Space Sweepers is at the same level in quality of, say, something like Star Wars, Star Trek. And they did it, and I don't want to say half the budget. It's a lot less than half the budget, a lot less. So I was really surprised. But then again, this is what I'm saying, that the one of the, let's say, bad thing about sci-fi film and TV shows and stuff like that is the cost involved with the special effects. So in the show, that's why it brought him to my mind that he said, like, if something short like that, and that would make sense why so much of the stuff in Dust looks so good, because you technically you could afford it. So I guess we could.
Still, even being affordable is a big undertaking if you think about it.
Yeah. So I guess let's go into our first question that we always ask in the show, which if you haven't heard our show before, if you have not heard the question,
Replay camera. Wait.
The question that we always ask is, how old were you and what was your first impression? First time. Go. Should I go first since I am the newbie here?
Yeah, go on.
Gio, did you watch this today for the first time?
No, I watched today the first time.
Okay, so
Never
there's.
had the pleasure.
Are you both noobs?
We're both noobs.
Yeah, because this is on the new seasons, I think, right?
No, this is from season 2. So it came out on May 14th, 2021.
I didn't finish it then.
Season
No,
2,
I watched
episode
today,
4.
man. First day.
So, you want me to go first? You want to go first? It's up to me. It's up to you.
Yeah,
I don't.
you can go first.
Okay. I watched this for the first time today, and I kind of alluded to this. Although there's a little bit uncanny valley in here, and it kind of lied to me. I thought I was at first I thought I was watching like real live actors, and I realized, hold on a second, like less than a minute into it, this in Canny Valley, so this is definitely special effects. But I really like the story, and how, and I'll let Ray talk a lot more into detail on that, but how you could get, and this is something that we talked about in previous episodes too, where we have covered stuff like Dust, or short films like the ones we have in Love, Death, and Robots, and how they have very little time to give you the whole story, and in most cases, this is what actually makes or breaks a movie, because you have to consider the settings, you have to consider the people that are watching this. This is something that they might be watching for the first time, so you gotta set them first before you tell them the story, so they can understand it. And that's one of the challenges, is how much time you spend on the setting. And I really like how the setting happened as the movie happened, and I really appreciate that, and the fact that this is kind of like, and I want to say homage, and I don't know if this was intended, because as I watched this, I got bits and pieces of other IPs that I really enjoy within the sci-fi genre. And another thing that I really enjoy, that I already talked about earlier, is the fact that this one has a lot of subgenres of IPs, of sci-fi IPs, all mixed together. I really, really appreciate that. Obviously, there's semi-happy ending, because as these movies go, you technically don't have an ending, and they kind of leave it up to you, which I think in part is one of the great things about this type of films when it's done right, because it replicates what happens when you read a book. When you read a book, you're actually making things in your head as you interpret the writing, and it depends on how good is the writer in painting a scenery that you can figure out for yourself. So I think this is, when it's done right, this is one of the great benefits of this type of films, the short films, where the ending could open to the interpretation, so you can make it whatever you want to make it, and they just give you enough information so you can go on for that. So that is what I thought about this film. I think it's a great film. It's like Gio says, you can do it on a portion of your lunch break. So I really enjoyed it, and I don't know, Gio, if you have what is your thought on that, since we're both the noobs here.
Well, I didn't get so much Star Wars vibes. I went straight into cyberpunk vibes for me. And I mean, how many cyberpunks we don't have when there's something more than humans in the population? There's plenty of them. You know, every future brings that up. So I thought cyberpunk right away. It gave me vibe of like bounty hunter bar in Mandalorian or Star Wars, like in Tatooine. It did give me those vibes too because of the desert. But you cannot get those desert vibes in cyberpunk. You have the desert nomads in cyberpunk. You know.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, I really liked it, and today was the first time that I watched it. Actually, uh, it was very fun. I didn't feel the same way that you guys felt about the graphics. I think I took it for what it was, and I straight up went into audience mode, looking at it like it was a cinematic from a good video game from today. Like you see that kind of cinematics when you play Mass Effect 3, for example, and the two and even the two. I only play Mass Effect 2 because the blonde girl from Chuck, the TV show. I don't even remember her name. She's a New Zealand model. Remember her?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I
But
really.
I think she's beautiful, and she is in the cinematics. She's like a character, main character in Mass Effect 2. That's the only
Yvonne,
reason that I play the game to see her.
Yvonne Strahovski. That's her name.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was watching it, graphic wise, I took it for that, and I think it looked perfect. I think for me, that was intended visual. It was not to make it semi-realistic through CGI. It was fully 3D animated movie, to my understanding.
Yeah, I'm a little bit spoiled. Like using Alita Battle Angel as a bar is not good because very few things
Come on,
can
I think
reach
that
that
you
bar.
liked it regardless, right? Admit it. You just liked it because you saw Berserker armor transparent right away. You were like, "Yeah, baby, I like this. I don't care what it's about anymore."
No, as I said previously, like this one impressed me the moment I saw it, and a lot of it had to do with the storytelling method, with the drip feeding background. I mean, when it opens, it could be post-apocalyptic Earth, it could be another planet. You just don't know until you get that line. Oh, it's harder to getting things in from Earth. Then you immediately know, no, this is not Earth. This is another planet. Okay, cool. That's that sorted and out of the way, and then within the conversations, you get drip fed other information. So I think it was really well written, and coming from my writer's perspective, in that they didn't just info dump you. You got it all during the conversation, which was fine. It worked. So I really like that about it. Yeah, I mean, as an animated short movie, it looked the part. They had alien designs which I hadn't seen anywhere else before. So they'd done their hard work. Yeah, I really think that for the amount of time that it ran and what it was a nice little piece of storytelling. So and it didn't hurt that it reminded me of Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
Things that remind me of Alita Battle Angel that's certainly in my wheelhouse. So yeah, I really quite liked it.
I think it's to me it's some kind of formal tribute when you try to reference something you like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I saw it back when it was released. I think I watched them all on the day that they released in 2021. So I did see it a number of years ago, and revisiting it again, I don't think it lost anything. I think it's still a neat little piece of storytelling.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, but we cannot answer that because we watched it today. It's kind of nice that you could answer that from your perspective, since you watch for you. Concerning the story, there's one thing
Concerning hobbits,
that brought up that came to my attention. When we meet, when we see Snow in the bar, which, by the way, great anti-theft device on the beer.
Oh yeah.
what is that? Like a cyborg mason jar? What the hell was that, man? You can crack the glass.
Yeah, but then again, you lose on the content, so you might as well just crack it inside a bowl, and then so you can filter it out. But that's too much work.
Mason jars, cybernetic.
So for all of you out there, it's basically there's a cap on the glass, which I'm assuming that is beer, and the waiter had to actually.
It has a pin pad. It has a pin pad for you to put a password. Like, what the fuck are you?
You have to put a
man?
password to remove the cover and just leave the glass with the beer behind.
Oh.
Obviously, drinks and water specifically are so in demand and so hard to find on this planet that people steal beers out of the waiter's hand and run off with them. So,
But I mean, for the guy with the most expensive nuts in the galaxy, that's nothing. Right?
an interesting way of putting it.
But Ray, you do have a point, because as we watch this film, you realize that this is kind of like the planet from I want to say Pitch Black, except that we don't know if it actually gets
that was the other vibe I got. Pitch Black vibes. Yes, definitely.
So during the day, it is too hot for survival, and that's the reason why you have people that as they're traveling, if they're traveling during, like, say for example midday or like the worst part of the day, they have to actually take cover from the heat, and you can actually see the mirage that is usually associated with a heated climate, and obviously that mirage scares you because you realize this is no joke. This is actually really,
Do you
really.
think? Do you think it was as bad as the Mirage on Riddick? I think it was not as horrible. So it will kill you within hours, but it's not like if you're outside the moment it happens, you fucked.
Well, the way that I took it, it felt worse than pitch black.
Because then a tent wouldn't really withstand the heat that it would generate, and
Well,
and the surface wouldn't look would look burned, not just a desert.
well, and there was a point as to why I'm talking about this, because the tents that they are using they don't seem like regular tents. They
No,
seem
they're
like
not.
they are, for some reason I got the vibe of like, this material that you use, or retardant. I actually seen those in uh brick oven pizzas that they use in between the brick. So you have brick and then that material, then brick again,
Yeah.
to kind of separate. It's that's the vibe that I got. Obviously, I don't know if that's actually it or not, but I got that kind of vibe. So when I saw that tent, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, on a planet like this, what Ray said makes a lot of sense, and it's something that I never really seen from that perspective. Is the fact that on a heated planet like that, um, every liquid tends to go in the vapor state,
Yes.
and if you have an atmosphere, it's going to be purely in the atmosphere until maybe night comes and it cools down and it can come
But
down to Earth in a
but
form
then
of.
again, like you saw that his house, for example, is on the desert and it has an open balcony. So taking all of that into account, there wouldn't even be a manantial of water coming out of it, a spring. It will be dry. It will be underground. So that's why I'm saying I don't think it's as bad. I think that you could move on that kind of heat, but the Earth, like in Riddick, in Pitch Black, and even in the Chronicles when he's in crematoria,
Mhm.
that the landscape on those kind of terrains are usually rocky because they are burnt to the crisp and dried
Well,
continuously.
crematoria is something different. That
Yeah,
is
it wasn't crematoria hot. It probably
Okay.
wasn't even Dune hot
No.
because
I
they
think
weren't
so.
wearing still suits. They
I
weren't
mean,
like trying
taking
to
into
save every
account
little bit.
that one of the animals just covered himself in there, it means that by evolution and adaptation, he can withstand the heat. So it will make more sense just by seeing the animal reference. I think it was brilliant because it gave
Yes.
you that you're not gonna die like in crematoria or even in pitch black. That the contact with that kind of light is like burning, sparkling. No,
or even
it's a
Dune.
slow hot, but it's like imagine like a heat of 60 Celsius. It's a
Yeah,
lot, but it's not gonna spark every single thing on fire just yet.
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
don't.
it wasn't crematoria hot, thankfully.
No,
That was
in
that
crematoria,
was
not
a
even the
son of a
spaceships
bitch.
could stay outside.
No,
They will melt.
I wasn't talking about crematoria hot. That didn't look that hot. It didn't look like things. And like you said, it makes sense that if it was crematoria hot, things would have been darker in color because it would be burnt. No, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about maybe something closer to Dune, or maybe past. But now that I think about it, it might be just less than Dune.
Okay.
I think it was less than Dune because in Dune they needed to have still suits or
Mhm.
they just dehydrate.
Exactly.
So,
So
it's not as bad as that.
yeah. So
It's very earthly like, that's for sure, because there's water and oxygen to be breathe normally.
I don't know why I want to say is worse than any desert on Earth.
For sure, for sure. That's a given fact. I mean, think about from the perspective of just knowing information. Think about it. There's a whole wildlife that is native to that middle ground, which they don't even represent in this episode or this little film. They didn't even touch that. This guy knows how to walk around and move around that shit. without being in danger, and he's running away from mercenaries. So you have also intelligent forms of life that are dangerous to be around on this environment. So I'm sure it's more dangerous than the worst deserts that you can find in here. Imagine a sandstorm.
Oh yeah.
If the exoplanet is larger than Earth, you can count that storm is also larger in scale and force.
But I think we would see if it's larger than Earth. I think we would have seen it because that means the atmosphere would be heavier and it will have higher pressure. And I think you could have seen that. And can you see that, or would it be able to? Would humanoids be able to evolve to the point where they can manage something like that?
It's just a matter of bone mass. So like that alien from Star Trek or the Orville that they have super strength. That their planet is their exoplanet has a heavier uh, gravity. Remember the
Yeah,
girl,
I
the
just thought.
security.
Yeah, the security. I think that was a little too
Well,
fantasy.
well, don't go further. John Carter. Our bone mass on Mars makes us superhuman strong. We are unmatchable by any physical living being. Not even a white ape can take a punch from us without dying.
But that's just the point. When you think about how we're talking about, we talked about this previously, how everything tends to come back to neutral.
Yeah.
So, let's say, for example, if this was real, and John Carter was able to go to Mars, for example, and live, it would just be a matter of time before his bone density goes down. His
Of
muscles
course,
go
of
down.
course. But I'm not talking about the long-term conditioning. I'm talking about the instantaneous comparison between environments and
Oh yes, yes.
uh, what
But
comes right after it.
what I'm talking about is the fact that if there was a bigger planet, um, I think, and I don't know, maybe Ray might be able to answer this one, but biologically, right? I think that you would be conditioned, obviously, but I don't know how much would a humanoid change under that conditions due to like evolution to be able to manage to be in that. And I don't think it could be to the extreme. So like for example, the bigger the planet, the worse it's going to be, not only because of the weight that mass would have, but also the pressure that the atmosphere will have to be on top of the planet. Um, so I mean, it's going to get to a point where bones would have to be made out of metal, and
No, you
I
gotta
don't
think. You think that your bones are made out of metals, and what the fuck are you using for joints to keep that
e-
together?
exactly.
So
That's
it
what.
doesn't slit your skin off.
Ask the Terminator; he'll know.
Well, yeah, but that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Well,
Logical.
synthetic bodies. Once we are able to upload and download ourselves to, that's what's gonna happen. You know.
Yeah, no, no, and I understand that, but I'm trying to talk about evolution wise. I don't know how far can biology go to adapt to a condition of that magnitude, and that's what I don't know biologically. Like we know that we can make the change if we go technology. That's the easy step.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
think
know?
that several generations, maybe. What do you think, Ray? Several generations would create under different circumstances conditioning that changes genetics eventually.
I think
Like,
there's a limit though. I don't know. I think
I
there's a
mean, I mean, we're being devil's advocate here and making like a laboratory thought experiment. I would say you're gradually incrementing those. Imagine that the Earth is incrementing its gravity slowly throughout the years. So we are gonna go adapting with it. It's not like
yeah.
people are gonna start dying out of new generations because they cannot stand the the gravity anymore. You know.
I understand what you're saying, Gio. What I'm saying is biologically, it makes sense in my head. There's a limit on how much you can change before it dies out. I don't think that it would be exponentially on infinite change, But then again, I don't know biology. It just makes sense in my head.
So human evolution is basically stagnated at the moment because we have too much technology. We're not directly affected by the environment anymore. Now, in any population that's large enough, and certainly 9 billion people is a pretty large damn population. Yes, exactly. There will be genetic variation. And of course, if the environment changes and we are forced to adapt to it, then the people with genetics which gives them an advantage will be likely to live long enough to reproduce. And then their genes will slowly over time become more prevalent in the population. And that's how, the slow tick of evolution happens. Of course, if there's a massive environmental change, like you land on a planet which is not Earth norm, then you're going to have to change very quickly or you're not going to survive. Now, human beings don't just go, oh, yeah, this environment's rough, I'm going to change now. No, that's not how it works. Either the genes are in the environment or they're not. When I say in the environment, in the population. So if the genes are not in your population, then they're not going to be more expressed because they give an advantage. So what we're going to have to do is either physically, like literally enhance and modify ourselves through cybernetics, or we're going to have to genetically manipulate ourselves. And that is where that is completely outside of the evolutionary bubble. And that's us changing ourselves to fit an environment. And that would be basically what would have to happen, because we're not going to land on a planet and go, oh, shit, this is a bit heavy. We'll evolve to fit this environment. No, people can't do that.
Push-ups.
No, it's not going to work like that. What we'd have to do is move to a planet that's slightly different from Earth, like a little bit more gravity, but not too much more. And then over, hundreds of thousands of years, then our bodies would adjust to that. And then we could move to a planet that's got slightly more gravity and then wait another couple of 100,000 years. And it just takes too long. So I think
kind of along the ways of what I was thinking is in a slow process, we would adapt to changes that beyond years wouldn't make us die if you just put our humans from the past on it. I believe so.
So Ray,
yeah, I agree with Ray that we're stagnated.
So Ray, you think that there is technically, given those things that you mentioned, there's technically no limitation to biology, and it's just a time thing before humans can get to, say, for example, imagine a planet, right? Visualize this. And I know it's a little hard to visualize. A planet the size of Jupiter. Planet, not gas giant. Planet.
So you're talking super Earth.
Yes.
Exactly. So if we have enough time and enough migration from planet to planet to planet to planet, and we're probably talking about billions and billions or trillions of years, there's really no limitation aside from time that would allow us, in theory, obviously, become a species that could stand something like a Jupiter-sized planet with its atmosphere.
Possibly. I don't know how well it would work. Like I said, you'd have to do it in very small increments.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the whole thing about evolution is that if a species is separated into individual groups that are under different environmental pressures long enough, they become different species. Yes. And we would no longer be a homologous species. We'd have different versions of humanity. And, humans that have been on heavier, more gravity intense planets would be shorter. They'd be stockier. They'd have thicker bones. Their hearts and lungs could well be bigger to try and deal with the heavier atmosphere and having to push blood around a body under heavy gravity conditions. So, you basically get what was in the 40K universe, the squats. which were basically space dwarfs. And they would be able to handle larger planets with more gravity.
Yeah, so it's like I was saying about the orbital, for example. It would make sense for the shape of that humanoid to change to adapt to the conditions. So when I saw the security officer, tall, well, not necessarily tall, but compared to what planet she's coming from, she's way too tall to withstand. And granted, I know I watched the show. I really enjoyed the show, and I watch it for what it is. But my brain, when I start thinking about things like that, kind of like doesn't make sense in my head. So I have to abandon all disbelief. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Geo. How she's she should have been like shorter, like maybe 3 feet tall, and a lot stockier to be able to like stand that kind of, because that was kind of like a Jupiter-sized Earth, if you think about it.
Could have been, yeah.
Because that was a big planet. That was a huge planet.
Yeah, it was big.
Thank God for
See, I think that Avatar, not the Last Airbender, but the James Cameron movie, got it more right.
What about Pandora?
Yeah, like Pandora's a moon of a gas giant,
Yes.
which is closer to the size of Earth. So a moon of a gas giant that was around the size of Earth would make a whole lot more sense for somewhere that we could inhabit and could develop life that was close enough to human life that we could tolerate it.
Yeah.
You know what's the funny thing? It makes a lot of sense because when you look at Pandora's world, it's so close to a rich mineral giant that its own life, the fauna and the wildlife, is also infused with all of his energy. You know, like everything evolutionarily is connected, even intelligent forms of life.
I mean, yeah, there's been questions about could life form based on something other than carbon, and the way we understand life at the moment is fairly narrow in our own experience, and there may be other forms of life out there that are formed on the basis of other elements, but it's somewhat unlikely. I mean, it would have to be situations that we have yet to experience, so we can't really imagine them. But chemists and biologists have looked into this, and silicon-based life, the environment and the way that it would form would have to be very, very specific. I mean, there's a reason why we have carbon-based life that requires water, and that's because it is the most likely to develop life.
Yeah.
And here we are with a planet full of the stuff, which we, for some strange reason, insist on trying to destroy. But going beyond the environmental impact of humanity for a minute, finding life that's based off another element, not carbon, seems to be fairly unlikely. But of course, we haven't explored all the different possibilities. We've only seen what we've seen based on flybys of our probes on the moons and planets in our solar system. So there's a whole bunch of other possibilities that we just haven't looked into yet. So it's all theoretical at the moment. We have one example of life, which is carbon-based life, which is on Earth. We don't have any other examples. So once we find some examples, then we'll update our theories and the possibilities of what could be out there.
We need to find a square planet.
Well, I was gonna bring my alien conspiracy theory, kind of curious thing that I wanted to ask, and I've heard some conspiracy theories about some kind of Area 51 like base in Brazil, and basically they all have the same particular description about aliens that I never heard before, and it's that they strongly smell of ammonia. Have you ever heard that one?
Well, the Bible says that's what demons smell like.
Ammonia?
Hmm.
Really? Holy shit! They're demons. They're not aliens.
And sulfur.
Yeah, the place like for you to find about that specific conspiracy theory, you just gotta look for Brazil, Virginia. That's true. The place is called Virginia, but it's in Brazil. It's like a secret military base shit. It is funny to listen to that. Like it makes me wonder, like, what kind of environment would a living being need to live on to smell of ammonia? And I mean, all like religion talk aside, it makes me think maybe a planet where there's gases like methane or something like that normally occurring in their atmosphere. There could be conditions like that are unlivable for us, even though we could be on a spacesuit on it. That could be normal for their skin and everything, right?
I think, and I'm gonna speak first because I'm gonna trust what Ray might say after the fact. I think it's most likely experimentation than aliens, only because of the great, vast, and the immense distances in the galaxy. For and I think about this all the time, right? Because I get a lot of questions, like has aliens visited Earth? Are they covering it up or whatever, blah blah blah, whatever that might be. I think this is the way that I visualize this, right? Let's say, for example, there's no question, there is civilizations out there. There has to be. It's way too big. So let's assume this civilization somehow looked at our planet
Mm-hmm.
and they see, oh, there's life there, right? So they start whatever it is that they travel in,
UFOs.
and they come our way. Okay. What by the time, in my opinion, by the time they get here, humans are long gone by trillions of years.
Extinct by our own hands.
Because let's say, for example, that we don't destroy ourselves, right? We either moved on to something else or we're no longer
Cats
human.
on Mars.
So who is to say that they're looking at us right now and they're looking at dinosaurs and they're like, oh, that's not interesting. Let's look somewhere else. So
That's,
that
that they look into our grandparents. Like, how can they don't tell the difference between dinosaurs and young people?
well, but you see what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
because of the greatest distances that we have, to me, it doesn't make sense that we will have visitors from outer space. And to me, it would be whatever we see. Let's say, for example, you see something that looks like an alien, right? Let's assume that for a minute. That's most likely experimentation with biology by organizations trying to mutate the human genome or mixing animals with,
Which always have been a dark scientific thing going on, to be honest.
and I'm not saying that that's what is happening. Don't get me wrong.
No, I mean, I think that is been proved by science that we've been able to mutate our DNA naturally with mice, pigs, rabbits, lambs. That you get their DNA and it looks like practically human. And they're doing this, I believe, so for harvesting of organs and things like that. There's actually some people that have organs transplanted of like pig heart, something like that. Very rare thing, but it has happened. And I've seen also videos of like testimonies of people that like there's a non lady from Northern Europe. I remember she had a heart transplant, and the heart was like a plastic heart that was built to naturally create the contractions. There was a guy that had a synthetic stomach too, and their transplant that works, But it's interesting.
I gotta read into that because I haven't heard of that one yet.
Well, I'll
Uh,
look it up. It's old, actually. Probably doing better now.
so, Ray, what is your thought on aliens visiting Earth?
Well, the tyranny of distance has always been the big limiter of that sort of a thing, and of course, there's lots of conjecture and videos and stuff talking about what's called the Fermi paradox, which is if there's so much alien life out there, why hasn't it visited us yet? And the whole fact of the matter is that if you go on the age of the universe versus how long humanity has been around, humanity, if it was a 24-hour clock, we'd be the last second or less than the whole last second of the 24 hours that humanity has been around. So it's not a case of why hasn't aliens visited us yet. It's we haven't been around long enough for aliens to have got here yet, because it takes a bloody long time to get here. Even if, as you were saying, Robert, if they set off as soon as they discovered our electromagnetic signals, they couldn't get here yet because it takes so long to travel here. And yes, we could.
What if they have auxiliary drives?
Well, I knew you were going to get there. FTL, even with FTL, okay, there's distances that are way too big for that.
What about wormhole? Or a warp? Let me bypass it. A warp or a wormhole.
Well, warp
we need a Stargate.
Yeah, you definitely need a Stargate. That's the only way to make it happen.
Like they actually took it from the Interstellar movie plot, so it's right behind Saturn. So we cannot really see it unless we get all the way out there, So they just
we've sent 2 probes past Saturn
behind Saturn and like
sorry,
checking on us.
Sorry, there's been what is it, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and none of them.
They wouldn't catch with those black and white cameras some dark hole in the middle of nothing.
Black and white cameras?
I'm fucking around, man.
No, look, the camera systems on Voyager were very intelligent. I was watching a thing on it the other day.
How intelligent for 1960s?
They were monochrome, yes, but they had color filters on them. So what they did was they took multiple photos from of the planets. But what they did was they put a filter in front of it every time it took a photo to filter out everything except a particular wavelength of light. So blue, green, whatever. And then when those photos were sent back, they were recombined to give you color photographs of the planets. It was a very intelligent way to do it from a very limited perspective of what the technology at the time could take with them from the 70s. Out into space. It was very smart. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I really appreciate the way they did that, because a color photograph.
Do you think that they do get X-ray kind of vision photograph imagery too, or like infrared imagery? Because that will be what will make ultimate that actually.
I think they take different. Well, nowadays they take all different kind of light spectrums, because our human eyes can't see. When we look, there's certain spectrums that we can't see, so they have.
Wouldn't you agree that an infrared camera out there in a Voyager would revolutionize our way of viewing the outer space at a whole different level?
Don't we have it out there right now on our telescopes?
I would think so. Think so.
I could have sworn that we are looking at the universe in a different light now because we have the different wavelengths that we can see now. And we're typing away.
Yeah, I'm trying to Google up something to.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes. Voyager 1 and 2 are identical spacecraft. Each is equipped with instruments to conduct 10 different experiments. The instruments include television camera, infrared and ultraviolet sensors, magnetometers, plasma detectors, and cosmic ray and charged particle sensors.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's literally a probe because it's literally even measuring all the statistics of the environment.
Yeah, and I find interesting that
it's a probe, right? That's what a probe does. It gives you diagnostics of what's going on.
Isn't that Beeger from Star Trek 1? If you watch Star Trek 1, you know what I'm talking about. Beeger.
I did see a mob that was bagging the plot of V'ger of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, because they said, the Voyager probes couldn't get far enough away to have even got to another star system yet by the time Star Trek is supposed to have rolled around. But what they didn't listen to was the actual plot of the movie, because it said that Voyager 1 space probe fell into a wormhole and ended up on the other side of the galaxy, where they bumped into either a cybernetic. It bumped into either a cybernetic or a fully robotic race, which saw it as close enough to itself that it would help it, and that's how it got back to. Now, there's been suspicions that it was a proto-Borg before the Borg got militant.
Mhm.
And I can see all that. I can see that according to the plot, that could have worked. But, you know, all these people saying, oh, yeah, Voyager couldn't have even got to the nearest star system, let alone interacted with a species that was fully cybernetic or robotic and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't even listen to the plot of the freaking movie. So piss off. Do your research. Pisses me off when people talk like that. Do your research before you make statements like that. Now, to go over what Gio was just saying, that is the spectrum of electromagnetic wavelengths versus the wavelengths of light we can actually see.
No, Ray. This is the thingy that is on the Prisma triangle of the Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. That's what that is.
It's the what you call on the doohickey on the thing.
Right. Is that? That's the Prisma colors that come from the Dark Side of the Moon with Pink Floyd.
Can we go back to actual science now and not geoscience?
But you know, we gotta make it sure geoscience.
Yeah. Your bullshit is my science, geoscience.
Love it. I'm making a shirt out of that. I'm writing that shirt down.
I love it. I totally love it.
There you go. We've designed a t-shirt on the show, ladies and gents. You'll be able to purchase it very shortly. But what I'm saying is that the amount of visual light versus the breadth and width of wavelengths of energy that are now recordable thanks to our electronics is quite insignificant. So visible light is insignificant compared to the wavelengths of energy that are out there, being long wave radio waves, through radio waves, radar, microwaves, infrared, through the visible light spectrum, ultraviolet, and then radiation such as X-rays and into the gamma waves and short wavelength radiations. So there's a lot of it out there that we can't see with our eyes, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yes.
And if you go to the YouTube channel and have a look at this episode, or if you're watching now, you will see a diagram of that up on the video feed at the moment.
Yes, it's really interesting when every time that I look at that diagram, and then that they have so many variations, and I invite our listeners to just do a simple Google search. It's filled with different variations of that. I always find it very fascinating how blind the human species is, because we only see a sliver of that, you know, that whole span. And it's a lot bigger. So
we only see in 4K, guys.
3.6K actually. But anyway.
Holy shit! What do we have 4K TVs for?
What do we have 8K TVs for?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What the hell? It's not like we can see all the K on it. Oh, I got another great T-shirt reference, by the way. It's gonna be Word of the Day, scientific. That's gonna be a great shirt too.
I pay that one. Look, language is always changing and always evolving, and you know they put "dope" in the dictionary, like "dope" from Homer Simpson. So you know if that gets in the dictionary, anything can get in the dictionary, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my god! Okay.
So who do you to speak to get credit for scientific? I need that.
We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to do an appointment with Merriam-Webster, and then they're gonna understand our description and officially put it in all the Larousse dictionaries.
Look, I figure if Shakespeare can get credit for a shit ton of different words, we can sneak one in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just one. Give it to us, please. Just one. Scientific. We'll make a T-shirt.
Hey, we can do greater things than Isaac Newton. Like, you remember when Isaac Newton said, "I love that thick ass,"
No.
and they didn't allow him to put that, so he said, "Okay, the greater the mass, greater the traction."
What? I am lost. So
I think he's mixing physics and porn.
No, that's true. When Isaac Newton said "greater the mass, greater the traction," he was just looking at a nice ass, but they didn't allow him to say that, so he
okay,
replaced it.
I'm going to say another word that we gotta put on a T-shirt. Moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Let's get back to the film.
I've got something we can move on to. I was doing some Google searches because I'm a Google-aholic. I think Google's wonderful because when I was in high school, we had this thing called the Dewey Decimal System and libraries, and that's where you got your information from. And it was so much trouble.
Encyclopedias,
anything, anytime anything's in print, it's usually out of date. So
yes.
Oh yes.
So nothing was kept up to it was hard, guys. It was hard. If you remember it, you just know. If you were there, and if you weren't there, be grateful that you had the internet for your entire life. All right.
Yes.
This is a wonderful resource.
I got to add to that, Ray. I got to add to that because I remember doing research. And then once you had all your papers, you had to write down the date.
Oh, yeah.
And then okay, is there any other research that is like newer than this? And then go back to the library, research the same thing you were researching, but trying to find what is the latest date.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go to another library and find the book that was in this other library. Yeah, it was, the struggle.
You have to go to the latest periodical and see if there's anything in it. And none of it was like, I'll just type it in and it'll tell me. No, you had to do it all physically.
Yes.
Drive you freaking mental. The internet is an awesome thing. So anyway, Reddit. Everybody knows about Reddit. So some people hate it, some people love it, some people are just whores to it and go on there and just give everybody a hard time. But King Flares on Reddit talking about not surprisingly, snow in the desert. He said, when the lady slept with him for the first time, I was legit yelling, "She wants your sperm for the robot overlords. Don't do it."
That's so perfect.
And
I thought I had to share that.
It's a good thing you're talking about that because, and before I get into what I want to say, I want to make sure everybody knows that we actually did a watch party on our Discord. I just have to mention thanks, Angelus, for joining. But if you guys like to join those events that they kind of pop up, just go ahead and join our Discord. And because we occasionally do stuff like this where we do a watch party for the stuff that we are recording. But yeah, during the watch party, and I know Gio was remember this, it's like we were talking about that. And how the lady was from Earth Intelligence. I'm saying it right? So, first of all, when they were at the bar, I was like, is she really joking that the bunny hunter, when she was saying that they needed his, balls, just like she said on there. And I was like, she must be joking. They just want to... Oh my God. They want to get him in any way, shape, or form. So they're kind of like doing a banter. That's what I came up in my head that this was, until we fast forward later and we see his interaction with the what was it, the other lady? I forgot her name now.
Hirald?
Yeah.
She was like, "I challenge you to nut at me."
So I was like, hold on a second. They really do need his testicles. And they explain why. They explain that, he's actually, you could actually see it, which is another great thing about this film, is the fact that as they're telling you, you could see This is the part where he already lost his right hand, and when in that scene he kind of uncovers because I guess he's bandaging it, and you could see how it's growing back. I'm like, hold on a second. So apparently they need this so they can kind of replicate, I guess, his condition. And,
I don't know that we needed that.
and apparently I'm missing a lot of stuff. Okay, so
Balls. Oh.
an decision to ignore it. So I agree with that person from Reddick. What was let me see, what was his name?
Harry Balls?
King Flares from Reddit.
Oh, yeah,
I agree with him because I was like, that is very clever. They need basically his DNA.
Genetics.
So that is definitely a way to get it. But then towards the end of the film, I was like, oh my God, doubly, smart, because she was a cyborg. So there's possibly a way that you can process that without having to take it to the lab, being a cyborg, because you could have equipment installed.
I'm almost sure.
So I was like, oh my God, this is, I don't know if you guys thought about that, but me and Gio were talking.
Yeah, I did.
And I was like, at first I'm thinking, okay, she just, she's a human, she's going to take it. Obviously I said, okay, that my idea goes down the crapper because she got shot. And then when she came back, I said, robot, I was just like, I gasped because I'm like, oh my God, she is a cyborg. So I guess my first idea.
Literally, it's like she lied to him. He was all right with it. And he was like, lie to me more, baby.
Which goes to show you cream pies are dangerous.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
I just had to mention that because it's something that I've like, I really, and we were discussing this in the watch party as well, but I wanted to hear your perspectives on that, your different perspectives.
Oh, you know that I'm gonna get a cyber girlfriend the moment that I get it. Even if I'm old and retired, man.
Oh well. So no, I don't know if you know you're muted, but
right.
If you know, you know.
Oh, you unmuted me and I muted myself again. Ah, yes. If you know, you know. Oh dear.
No, I just
what was the question?
I just wanted to hear your perspective on that. It really took me. I think I gasped when I gasped a couple of times.
Well, I did say that this had multiple layers, and that's one of them. You sort of go back and forth, going, maybe she's going to try and collect something in a condom, or
exactly
express something later on. And like, oh, actually, no, she could have a little freezer in there. She could have just like frozen it down.
Yes.
Collect the sample.
He's like, sample collected. Clink. Wi-Fi signal gone.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Look, we can sequence DNA from a computer, like a normal PC with a USB stick. You can't do like human genome because it's too big, but for smaller amounts of DNA, you can do a full genome of like a bacteria or something like that. But I mean, this is the future, so the technology would have improved.
Yeah,
and she could have a
quantum technology. That great amount of information is not so big if you think about it.
Well, she could have a full sequencing system in there and just collect it, sequence it, and beam it out of there and hang out with him, and everything's fine. She's done a job.
Yep. It's just
bam, 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 job done. Sample's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, wow, and I that's some clever writing right there, and I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I really want to
You
hear.
mean writing or writing?
No, the writing is that is
She was clever too.
and that's another word for our t-shirts. You know, chaos
Writing or writing?
chaos speak. We speak chaos.
We have
But
to
it was
deal with
clever
most of
writing
that.
too, right? It was clever writing too because she went 1,000 level of persuasion, and
Well,
he didn't make much opposition.
that is one way of persuasion right there. And you know, all jokes aside, he's it's apparent again from the writing. Uh, we don't get the full detail, but even in the same right in the same conversation, he's telling him how his wife died. So you're like right there. You're kind of like, okay, you know, she died. She got old. Now you're like, okay, hold up a second, what's going on? And
Here's the
then
thing:
he
he
said,
said, "My wife killed herself." That's
no, no,
what he
but
said.
I'm going a step for a reason, right? I'm going step by step for a reason. So he said, okay, that you know, she killed herself because she was old. Another gasp for me because I'm like, oh, hold on a second, what really? And then he talks about how he's been alone for like 100 years. Is that what he said?
123.
123.
And I'm like, whoa, okay. So now we got the setting in the same conversation that the setting is happening, where we know he's lonely. That explains his stoicism. I don't,
Stoicism, yeah.
um, and also she knows right at that moment she has an advantage to get her to complete her mission because this person has been alone for a long time. So it's not that difficult to get to that point from this moment on. And I was like, wow, she's really taking advantage of this to accomplish her mission. And I know, you know, I know Captain Chaos is dying to go the other way, but I'm actually just, if you notice, I'm talking serious about a scene that typically is not taken serious, and that should be a testament to the writing. If you what do you think? What do you guys think about that? This is, I mean, we make jokes
I
about
I I love writing that's got multiple layers in it, and that makes you go back and think, oh, hang on a second. Here's a piece of information that changes everything I thought about this previous scene, and now it's completely different. And I love that writing. That's really well written, which is why I suggested this one to cover, because it's got so many layers in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
and Gio, I want to hear your thought on that because, especially from you, this is the kind of content that we make jokes on, that you make
Oh,
jokes
for sure.
on. You go to town with this kind of thing, right? And now, as we talk about it, you're making jokes of it. But my question is, did you agree with my statement and how clever that writing is?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It was a material with a lot of depth into the lore inside of it and what's going on. You know, I think that it was incredibly smart how in so short time they could convey a whole story. If you think about it, you know, because there was a conflict, there was a growing issue that was not going to stop. It was not going to stop being hunted. You know, if he didn't change something in his life, he was just gonna keep on continuing visits, and he can regenerate, but he's not immortal. He can get killed, and they just wanted his nuts. So all nuts aside, really, if you think about it, he's in very dangerous. So how the movie develops and everything, it's very convenient, yeah. But I think it's a good flowy development on it, so it doesn't bother. And what I like is at the end, even though they don't tell you what he does, what they do, uh, it gives you the idea that this could be resolved. So his life's going to change. You know, he's going to leave this place.
Yeah,
So it flows nicely. And
definitely.
then, I mean, you have the chick that she's a total crazy thing in the bed. And now that they blow her head off, you know that she has a hole in the side. So it's like, ooh. But it
Yeah.
makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how human she really is, with the incredible amount of cyber synthetics that she have. It feels to me like she's less human than Major Kusanagi, less human than her or Alita.
I
It
think
feels to me.
I think she is biologically less, uh, which begs the question of the technology within this universe, because she did mention that her brain is hers, but I don't see how brain.
Partly, she said.
Yeah, so I don't see how a brain, an actual human biological brain, will fit there. So it makes sense to me that she was uploaded, kind of like in the how they would do it in Ghost in the Shell, but instead of using a biological brain, this would be kind of like a some sort of quantum computing or storage,
Probably.
able to store all that. Um, so yeah, biologically, I think she is a lot less human
Yes.
than
Yes.
say the worst, in Ghost in the Shell, or the ones that you mentioned there. But it makes you wonder though, because you know, I guess my brain keeps on going back to quantum technology when it comes to computer processing and storage, because quantum technology would be able to replicate, um, well, closely replicate bioorganisms
Hmm.
than the actual typical, processing power of a computer, because of its and that's the reason why scientists are trying to move into that technology as fast as they can, because that would be a leap forward, especially in medicine, when you're able to examine a disease and then being able to come up with something to treat it that you can experiment on and see results that are closely they're closely to the results that you would get in a biological system. That
Kind of like the androids in Raised by Wolves, that they just like put their finger or something, lick it, and then they just know what, like the whole composition of it.
Yeah. And that's and again, I might be completely off base here, and I'm kind of wondering to see what Ray's thoughts are on this comment. But it seems to me, the reason why I'm bringing this up is very curious to me to see how much of a humanity is humanity, because we actually talked about this in previous episodes, how you could transfer someone. I mean, we've seen sci-fi where you transfer people into complete cybernetics, let's call it equipment, right?
Yes.
And they go psychologically insane because they don't know how to process. You're going from a brain that is used to doing involuntary signals, like
Yes.
you don't feel this, but your brain is telling your heart to pump, is telling
Yep.
your lungs to breathe, and all of a sudden you don't have that. All of a sudden it's cut off.
They have this. They have a scene on a movie that I want us to cover called Replicants with Keanu Reeves,
Mhm.
and they show a trial where they transferred the uploaded mind of a dead soldier into a bionic robot, and basically he had a psychotic attack right there. And then they explained that is that you calling involuntary commands is what they call the reptilian part of the brain. It's what do all of that background work, and that's what it happens usually. They have a hypothetical, but they said, oh, that it would drive right away a person to a psychotic break.
So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because
But what do you think, Ray?
Well, the same thing was suggested in RoboCop 2, if you've seen that movie,
Mhm.
where he was
Yes.
the only one who had a strong enough mentality to handle being put into a robotic body. All the other people lost their shit immediately
Yeah.
and killed themselves.
So the reason why I was bringing all that in a long-winded way is, that we're talking about your typical storage and processing of information,
Hmm.
which when I say typical, I say zeros and ones, right? Would it be able to change on a quantum technology where you could, in theory, right? And again, I say in theory because we were very, very early into the stage. But number one, would you be able to replicate how a real biological system works? And if so, because of that, you're able to replicate the sending and receiving of information for the reptilian brain, because of the amount of how the processing, it's completely different. Quantum, how it process power and how to store, how to process the information and how to store is completely different than what you're used to in computers. So my thought is, would it be able to replicate it in a way that the human brain will not know that it's missing, because it's still doing its function on a quantum state, because of the fact on how well quantum so far could imitate biological systems. But
Yes,
then again, that's again,
I agree.
it's
I
just-
agree. I agree. Think about it, Robert. If it's capable on an incredible scale of increment of what we can do with traditional computers, being able to find several options that will be a proper response to that kind of request from our brain, quantum mechanics can be found for sure and be taken with a lot of ease without too much withdrawal from any source of energy or information, right?
so I want to hear. I wanted to hear from Ray, and I'm sorry, Ray. I just went the long way because I want to make sure that I got
You
all.
did. You took the scenic route.
We're exploiting the biology side of you, man.
Oh yes. Well, anyway, look, this is my personal opinion based on what I've read. I'm not at the forefront of this technology, as young as it is at the moment. But from what I would think, well, first of all, I just wanted to correct something you said about Hirald. She stated that her spinal column, part of her spinal column, and her brain, most of her brain was biological. So
Okay.
obviously it was a pretty bad accident that she had, and they had to rebuild her. Of course, it comes down to the question of how much did that cost and why would you bother? If somebody was that badly injured, you'd probably just let them die because it would be ridiculously expensive to replace all of that.
Trials.
But then, humanity has a long-running history of doing things because they could rather than asking whether they should, which, is the basis of Jurassic Park. But basically, being able to replace somebody's body entirely, I think that in the first instances, what you guys have been saying and what we've seen in movies like RoboCop 2 is right, that the human body would reject it because
This is the part where you say, Ray, it's time to chrome the fuck up.
All sorts of cybernetically enhanced people, they get cyberpsychosis and all that sort of thing because their bodies are no longer functioning the way that their brain expects it to, and it messes them up. And that interface between technology and biology is the thing that really is slowing the whole thing down, coming up with that interface that works well enough that the body is fooled into thinking that the biological parts are still there. I mean, people who've lost limbs have phantom limb syndrome, where it feels like the limb is still there, and that's false feedback coming from their brain and feeding back into the system, saying that the limb is still there when it isn't. And they feel like their lower leg is aching when they don't have one, and shit like this. So it's all a matter of providing the right feedback and giving the brain what it needs to feel whole. I think taking a brain out of a body and putting it into something else and convincing it that that's all okay and that this is the body that it developed in would be very difficult. And in the early stages, I think they're going to have a lot of failures trying to make it work. But once they actually work out how to do it, they get the recipe right, they get the feedback right, and the brain can slowly be trained into understanding its new environment with a cybernetic body, then I think that there will be successes. I think that it would take a certain type of person with a certain mindset to be able to do it. I don't think everybody would be compatible with cybernetics in that amount. But I think yeah, exactly. I think there will be some people who would be able to do it. Now, I just wanted to draw comparisons between Hirald and the Leader Battle Angel in that both of them have brains in a cybernetic body. Knowing the Leader Battle Angel universe as I do, or Battle Angel or Leader from the manga, there's a lot of I wouldn't say discussion so much as sort of the story tries to get you thinking about what does it mean to be human, and what is our humanity, and how would it be different if we had to change out our body for whatever reason to be artificial, and how we deal with that, and what limitations and what limitations would it add and what limitations would it remove.
Do you think that that's why Hugo went crazy when he was transplanted into a mechanical body?
You know that
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm just completely jumping tracks into another IP at the moment. Hugo from Alita Battle Angel didn't deal well at all with being total replacement cyborg.
Yeah.
And the Chica explains things very much more eloquently than I just did.
I even imagine what kind of process his body will go through so he could keep the skin, because when you think about the reality of science behind having your head perfectly cut off and put into a mechanical body, there's nothing where his skin even goes through something else that keeps on being whole anymore.
well, he needs
know?
he needs to have blood to oxygenate the rest of his head. I mean, there's a lot in there that is not spoken for that needs to happen for it to be a normal thing.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the taking a brain out and putting it into a cybernetic body seems all well and good, but there's a whole bath of hormones and chemicals and requirements of oxygen and nutrition and fluids and all this sort of stuff that our body handles, sometimes not particularly well, but it tries to handle to keep our brain functioning at some level of efficiency. Taking a brain out and putting it into a cybernetic body isn't just a case of making it connect and happily understand that its new environment. It also has to provide the environment that it's used to keep it alive. So that is quite complex. And, you need artificial lungs, an artificial heart, artificial digestive system, or some way to provide nutrients, and some way to, clean that blood, take out the CO2 that builds up, take out the toxins that build up. Because anybody who's had their kidneys failed and had to go into dialysis knows that, even after a day or so of your blood not being filtered by your kidneys, you start to feel really sick, because toxins have built up. Your body is producing toxins all the time, and our kidneys do a wonderful job. Kidneys are freaking fantastic at taking crap that you don't want in your blood out of it and getting rid of it in your urine. And that is something that we need, some sort of filtration system. It's not just your kidneys though. I mean, your liver breaks down toxins to less dangerous things before they're removed from the body or reused somewhere else. So it's a complicated system, the body. It does a lot of things that keep you going, and taking away any one of them causes you all sorts of problems and can even kill you. So, I mean, you'd have to provide all of that in a cybernetic body.
Awesome. Okay.
There's a lot to it. I have one other point before we move on to the next segment, and that is Snow's immortality, and how in the story they explain that this is dangerous information that could destabilize the Protectorate, and they're not wrong, because in episode 70 of Radio Chaos on the Elite Army, our live stream. The episode was called Methuselization. What impact of Methuselization? Yeah, it's a big word. What's the impact of extending longevity on human society? Now, human society functions nominally because people die and new people replace them. That's why we have children, so that we're replaced and humanity goes on. You pass your genes down to your offspring, and then you pass away, and they take over, and then they pass their genes down, and they die, and new generation keeps taking over. This is how life works. This is important part of evolution, in fact, because if there was no sexual reproduction, you wouldn't get recombination, you wouldn't get mutation, and you wouldn't have evolution. So much like the Cavendish banana, if a disease got into it that it couldn't deal with, then it would be completely wiped out because the genetics of it is all the same. There's no evolution. We've kind of screwed over the Cavendish banana. But that's your standard banana you get in the supermarket in most Western countries. So what basically I'm talking about here is we covered in that episode of Radio Chaos what effects becoming immortal would have on society. And they'd have the same problem in Snow's reality as well, in that once people stop growing old and dying of old age, then you get a build-up at the top end of your social structure of people just hanging around for frickin' ever. And how are you going to feed all those people? How are you going to deal with the population numbers? Where are you going to house them all? As soon as you start seeing people who are functionally immortal, unless you murder them or run them over with a truck or what have you, then
you just use it for the hypothetical challenge of push the big guy or the 5 people in the train track.
Well, no, it's more a case of the top end isn't disappearing. Your top end's going to just keep building up infinitely. Now, some people would say, yeah, we need population expansion to fuel growth and keep the economy running, but really it's too much. And
it's gonna become like the post-apocalyptic futures where having kids is limited or forbidden altogether.
I was getting to that. So overpopulation, running out of resources, destroying the earth because it can't support the number of people on it. Well, we're kind of doing that already, but it'd be way worse. How do you deal with that? Well, if the top end isn't disappearing, you stop the bottom end from appearing. If nothing's going out, you don't put anything in. So then children become illegal or far less valued than they are at this point in human society. And that's basically what happens in the story of Battle Angel Alita, way past where the first movie finishes up. We find out that, there's a whole human diaspora across the solar system, and humanity has diverged in different ways. But a lot of humanity now has Methuselization and no longer ages. So children are now very low priority or illegal altogether, or used as a food source, which is gross, damn Venusians. Wow. But basically children are either illegal, like you can't have them, or they're very lowly valued and allowed to die or used in gladiatorial games or some sort of such bullshit like that. So it's a pretty horrific sounding future. The adults are pretty terrible. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are. Then they're quite selfish in that they want to live forever and they don't give a crap about the next generation. So basically, societal structure breaks down.
Kind of like what Dark and the Frank's future was.
Yeah, so it's bad news. Immortality is bad news for society as a whole. And I think they're quite right that it could destabilize society within Snow's universe if that secret gets out. Like one person who's immortal is fine, the odd immortal vampire is not a big problem, but if lots of people got hold of that technology, then or that ability to live forever, then yeah, we're going to have some serious problems. Not the least of which is who gets it first. Obviously, the rich. So the rich are like, oh no, I don't want to die. Oh, look, now I'm not going to die. I'm going to be rich forever. I'm going to keep gathering all the finances. So the 1% become the 0.1%, and everyone else is poor because they've gathered all the money together because they're rich and powerful and immortal. So that would be even worse for society. So as you can imagine, sounds cool being immortal. Of course, if you're immortal and the people that you hang around with that you care about are not, then you're going to be like snow and outlive them, and it's going to be shitty because you're going to have to say goodbye to everybody you ever cared about. Now, just as a personal example for me, my father outlived pretty much all of his friends because they didn't look after themselves, and they all died in their 50s and 60s from heart attacks and alcohol side effects and all that sort of stuff. And he, in the end, had no friends because they'd all died, and he was wondering what he was still doing there. Because you might think about it in your everyday, but if you lost all the people that mattered to you, what would life mean to you anymore? And especially if you're getting older and you've got some sort of problem with your memory, like Parkinson's, or your body's falling apart, which it will eventually, because our medical technology isn't there yet. Maybe one day it will be, but not currently. We can't put ourselves into immortal cyborg bodies just yet. So getting old and not having that young forever high level of what's the word I'm looking for? Quality of life. If you don't have the quality of life, it can be really shitty. Getting old's fine, but getting old and having no quality of life sucks ass. And obviously, somebody who's been made immortal through methuselization or this thing that Snow's got may not have that problem. But if their friends don't have immortality, then they're going to end up alone, and the meaning of their life may go with their friends who've died and their loved ones. So there's a lot to consider with this whole immortality shtick. And there's a whole episode of it there. We talked about it for a couple of hours, just that particular thing within the auspice of the Elitaverse and the manga of Battle Angel Alita. So that's episode 70 of Radio Chaos on the Alita Army channel. If you were at all interested, you can go check that out. A little bit of a plug there.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my last point before last thoughts.
So, yep, you read it right. It is the time on the episode where we ask that final question. What is your last thoughts on this film? And let's go around the room and see who wants to go first. Or
I'll go first.
Okay.
Might not be short because I just had a big old spiel. But I really like this. It really reminded me of Alita Battle Angel, which is like my favorite IP ever. So I couldn't help but like it. I thought it had lots of different layers of storytelling. It didn't shove, a big spiel in your face about the history of the place. You got it all during the conversations, which I think is fantastic writing. It reminded me a lot of Ghostbusters, actually, which we have covered on the show. If you want to go back to our past episodes, we have covered Ghostbusters. And its writing was very similar in that it used very few words, got the point across, and didn't belabor, the point or history or anything like that. So it's really well written. It's only 17 minutes. You can get through it on a lunch break if you've got the opportunity to do that. So yeah, give it a look. Just like pretty much every other episode of Love, Death and Robots, it's really good sci-fi.
Awesome. You want to go next?
Yeah.
Okay.
This episode is fun as hell. I think that is actually, besides the jokes aside, I mean, even though it was nuts, uh, I think that it's well done. Like I told you, I really like the cinematics. I took it for what it was. I didn't take it as it should look real. Um, and I think that the storytelling was very good too. It had a good plot, and you know that delivering a full message in short time amount is not always the easiest thing to do. So you could experience all the depths of this episode with this show with that little time. And I mean, the fight scenes, everything was very good. I definitely suggest it if you like that feel of something new that Love, Death, and Robot, Out Studios, Black Mirror gives you. By all means, I definitely suggest it. It's a must watch. I really liked it.
Oh, if you're not on YouTube, you're missing out. Definitely. Okay, so my final thoughts. I think this movie was extremely clever in every way possible. It hits all my points. The fact that it has a bunch of different subgenres of sci-fi all in one. It actually gets a vibe of multiple IPs within the sci-fi genres. That's another thing. The fact that I find it very uh, uh, impressive. The fact that it is a 17-minute movie, and is able to convey so much in it. But not just that, it's how it conveyed what it needs to convey. And it gives you that information on the scene that you need it, at the time that you need it, which I think is very hard to do on a small, in my opinion, on a small film. It kind of like the big films, it's easier, I would think, because you have enough time to convey it. And you could do it that way. You can have, but this one, for some reason, it conveys so much information right at the moment that you need it, as part of the scene, which is incredibly impressive, in my opinion. It has really good fight scenes, action scenes. It has a great plot on it. I think it's a must watch, especially since it is 17 minutes long. But because of that, is why I find it very impressive. So this is definitely a must watch, and I really enjoyed watching this film. Okay, anything else that we can add before we move on? And we're moving on to
science and sci-fi.
I love your buttons. I want some of those myself, especially when you're not here, Robert. Oh dear. Trying to replicate that with my throat did it no good whatsoever. Yeah, it wasn't good at all. Okay, so surprisingly, for a 17-minute short movie, there was a lot of scientific sort of ideas floating around in this one. Obviously, immortality is something that people have been hunting for, as long as humanity's been thinking about, well, shit, how long am I going to live for? And the immortality code, as it's sometimes been described, has been hunted for thousands of years. There's, things about the Holy Grail is supposed to be able to make you immortal and all this sort of stuff. But going on, what we can actually do with our science at the moment, having a modified gonadotropin releasing hormone, I can't see how that would actually work. I don't think there's a theory behind it. I think they pulled an interesting part of the reproductive system and went, oh yeah, we'll say that it works differently and made him immortal. And they've given no way that would functionally work. And I can't personally, as a biologist, see how that would happen. If any of you guys have got an idea how it would work, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Jump on our Discord and say, hey, I've got this idea, or jump on the Discord and say, hey, there's this YouTube channel and they said this and that and the other. I'd love to hear it and cast a critical eye across it and see if it holds any water. But yeah, I can't see personally how gonadotrophin releasing hormone, which is a hormone that the brain produces to then interact with the pituitary gland and get it to produce either testosterone or the female hormone, which name is escaping me right now. Estrogen. Yes, there it is. Okay. So, the gonadotrophin releasing hormone is related to the production of sexual hormones, which in the first instance helps the body develop in puberty to become sexually active, and then controls the activity of the gonads, the sexual organs, to do what they need to do to make the bits that make babies, to make it very simplified. But I don't see how that particular hormone being modified in any particular way would enable you to be immortal and grow things back really quickly. I don't see the connection. That's from my biological understanding, which is not complete. I would have to spend some time researching all of this to be 100% sure. But on a surface level scan, I couldn't see how that worked. So I'm kind of putting out. I don't see how that works. But if anybody else does, please let me know, because I'm willing to be corrected on that. Now, as far as immortality is concerned, at least as old age, not necessarily like growing limbs back and shit like that, which is pretty amazing. Just not dying of old age. The reason why we die of old age is because every time a cell is copied, so every time your cells divide, so that you can grow a bit more skin or a bit more liver or a bit more whatever. The telomeres, which is the ends of the genes, they get one base pair shorter. So basically, it's like a timer on your cells. And once they get so short that they start causing errors in the genes that are closest to the ends, that's when your cells stop being able to replicate, and that's when you get really old and die. It happens slowly on an individual cell basis, to the point where your certain types of cells can't replicate anymore. And it happens in your skin cells, and your skin starts looking old and haggard because it can't reproduce anymore and be young and fresh and clean and new. And of course, all the other organs in your body are having the same problems, and eventually one of them is going to fail. And when an organ fails, what happens, boys? You die. Because you're not a functional organism anymore. And basically, that's how you die of old age. You have organ failure, be it your skin, your eyes, whatever it happens to be. Things just stop reproducing properly and fall apart. Now, there is a hormone called telomerase, which actually extends your telomeres, but it only functions at certain points in your growth. And doesn't work in general to stop you aging, so you continue to age and die. Now, being able to control your telomeres and stop them from truncating like that and grow them back out again would theoretically, because we haven't actually managed to make it work on a full human level, enable you to become functionally immortal. It wouldn't grow your limbs back, but it would stop your cells from growing old and then ceasing to divide. Now.
So maintaining a stable form of life that will be nourishing constantly, we could be mortal.
You'd still die if a truck hit you. If truck couldn't came up, you'd still drop dead. But here on a website called Hero X, they're talking about telomeres lengthening procedure and immortality. They say every time a cell provides, the telomeres shorten, eventually reaching critical length where they can no longer divide and will die. By lengthening the telomere by 1,000 nucleotides, which is the coding blocks, the Stanford researchers were able to add many years of life to cells that underwent the process. So on a cellular level, they can make cells survive for longer, because when you do cell culture, they'll only survive to a certain time, and then the telomere shortening will cause them to die. But if you treat the cell, an individual cell, with telomerase, you can make that cell last a heck of a lot longer. But doing it on an organism scale, especially an organism as large and complex as a human, we haven't managed to do that yet. At least nobody's admitted to being able to do it yet. Maybe the rich people can already do it and they're just not telling anybody. But yeah,
Maybe.
as I've said before, immortality will be for the rich first. And whether they'll release to the rest of us is another question entirely. Coming in from that, I mean, the science side of things is I can't see how gonadotrophin releasing hormone in any sort of mutation would enable someone to, regenerate super fast and live forever. Having said that, most mutations cause an organism to die. Because you mutate something, it stops working correctly because it's changed its shape or what have you, and then the organism drops dead because it doesn't have a functional gonadotrophin releasing hormone anymore. I have had a friend of mine who died when he was 45 had a mutation in his thyroid, which caused him to he was very much overweight for most of his life. And died very young because of that mutation in his thyroid. So most of these things are detrimental to some extent, quite often killing you before you're even born. There's the odd mutation that doesn't cause any obvious changes. And then there's mutations that cause changes, but they don't kill you. And they're very rare. And that's what they're suggesting happened with this one. But I can't see how a mutation in that particular hormone could enable you to live forever and regenerate so quickly. So as far as the biology holding water, I don't see how it could. If anybody else can prove me wrong, please go ahead. I'd love to know about it. Now, talking about others scientific-y, to borrow a term, parts of this short movie, ways of surviving in deserts. I thought the bird-like creatures that kind of reminded me of pterodactyls crossed with vultures that had the very hard wings that they could cap themselves with and sort of hold off the heat of the day. I thought that was a fantastic idea as far as an organism that's evolved on that planet to be able to survive the really harsh daytimes. Something that I was going... Oops, we lost a Robert. Oh, there he is. He's back. Something I was going to mention about Pitch Black was that planet had 3 suns. So probably not triple the solar radiation, but certainly far more than what we're used to, which was why the planet was pretty damn hostile. This planet only had one. It
was
star.
hotter, and fuck, we're dead.
This planet was only had one star. It looked like a G-type based on the color, like our own star, but it was bigger. So either the star was bigger, it was a bigger G-type,
or they were closer.
Or it was closer. Yes, the planet could be like in an orbit of Venus on the inner edge of the Goldilocks zone, which case would cause it to be, it could have liquid water, but it was less likely to have large quantities of it. So I thought it was well done in the way that they set that up. It seemed to make sense as far as what we understand for Goldilocks zone position close to the star, the sort of stars that we could survive on. The planet looked to have roughly the same gravity as Earth, so that wasn't going to be a huge problem. But of course, a planet that is mostly desert doesn't have much plant life. We rely on microorganisms on the surface of the ocean for most of our oxygen. People seem to think that it's coming from the Amazon. Some of it is, yes, but not all of it. In fact, 2/3 of it, or maybe even more, is coming from microorganisms on the surface of the ocean that are photosynthesizing and producing oxygen for us. Yay, thank you, microorganisms. Please don't screw up our oceans, because if you do, then we will suffocate. That's a hint. Basically, with the planet that's pretty dry like that, where were they getting their oxygen? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Because it's got to come from somewhere. Cactuses. I didn't see any.
Oh,
So yeah,
I know
mean,
where. From the moss in the caves that are underground, so it comes through the holes of the ground.
Must be a lot of mossy caves under that planet.
Yes.
Swiss cheese planet. I did notice that she was walking around with a mask on, which would make sense to keep the dust out of your face, but might also keep the. We do breathe out a lot of moisture as humans. You can fog up a mirror by just breathing on it if the mirror is colder than your breath. We do breathe out a lot of moisture, and hanging on to that moisture would be pretty damn useful for keeping us alive in a very dry environment. So having a mask on, and perhaps the mask would also provide you with some oxygen that you were carrying around with you, because I couldn't see that planet having the same level of oxygen as Earth.
And hopefully nobody's going to call you Muad'Dib.
Yeah, because if they call you that, you're in all sorts of trouble. But the other thing that I thought was interesting, actually I have 3 more points. AI's running things on Earth for the greater good. Basically, humans are greedy little shits and can't be trusted to run the place because they'll look after themselves before they look after anybody else. So having AIs running the place, if they didn't turn around and decide humanity was a blight on the universe and needed to be destroyed, they might run things better than humans could because they would be impartial. So I thought it was interesting that AIs were running things back on Earth. I found that to be interesting, and it's a whole other topic of conversation we could have, but I won't run too long on that one. But I thought it was an interesting thing to add into the milieu of the background of the story. Cyborgs and immortality. Now, whereas a cyborg body might be able to be maintained and last for hundreds of years, the biological brain inside there would still be aging. Unless you did something to stop the telomeres from shortening, the brain cells would age and stop dividing and die. So, yeah. I don't think that she could last for hundreds of years unless there was some way of making her brain more rugged, more able to survive for a longer time than a normal human brain, because all your cells in your body that are needing to replicate, and that's pretty much all of them, will be getting shorter telomeres and would eventually stop replicating and break down and die, because we have an expiry date, unfortunately. So
don't you think that they just put the brain in a pool of formaldehyde and that's it?
Funny story that you should mention that. Back in 1999, when I started working in my first job at university, one of the first jobs that I got to do was change the storage medium on a human brains. So I actually had to put gloves on and pick up the human brains and take them out, put them on paper, took off the muck that they were
in between, like the curves and shit.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this human brain has been treated to be stabilized, so it wasn't as soft and smushy as a real human brain was. But I still had to pick up a human brain in gloved hands and put it down on paper and then clean them and put new solution and then put the human brain back in again. So it's a bit creepy. But the human brain was a lot less. It was a lot more solid than a human brain inside a head would be.
I never touched a human brain. I've done sutures on dead bodies, but never touched a human brain.
It felt a little creepy, I got to say. But any sort of long-term purification method would stop it functioning. So no, it's not going to be formaldehyde or anything like that.
Interesting.
Now, my last point in the science behind science fiction is the memory limit. So it is believed that human brain can only hold around 200 to 250 years worth of memories before it would be saturated. Even, getting on towards 100 years, people forget a lot of stuff because the human brain isn't designed to last that long. I say designed, but it's more evolved. But the way it's evolved is that it's not meant to last much longer than 100 years. I mean, even a human without medicine generally wouldn't last much longer than 50 to 60 years. Beyond that, with medical technology as it is today, we're able to last a fair bit longer. Now, there are outliers. There are people who have lived in societal groups that just looked after themselves really well and have lasted a long time because they haven't pushed their cells to divide to the point where the telomeres have got too short and the cell groupings have died. Again, there may be mutations which have given people longer telomeres, so they've lasted longer. There's all these possibilities. But basically, the human memory limit as far as human brains function at the moment is 200 to 250 years, they believe. So after that, your brain would just be full. So you'd either have to offload memories so that you could store some more in there, which would be a technological thing rather than a normal biological process, or you would just not be able to remember anything anymore, and you'd lose your long-term memories of recent events. I don't know if you guys understand how short-term and long-term memory works, but short-term memories is only for a day generally, and then those important events that happened in that day get moved into long-term memory while you're asleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're not going to be able to remember things very clearly because you didn't give your brain time to process your short-term memories into long-term memories. And of course, eventually that short-term memory is going to start wearing down because those cell groupings are going to die that do that sort of stuff. But there is a memory limit in long-term memory as well. They think about 200 to 250 years, and then you won't be able to store anything in there because it'll be full. So, you'd have to have multiple mutations in multiple areas to enable someone to live for a long time.
I just get a subscription and get my memory on a cloud.
Well, in some sci-fi IPs, that's exactly what they've had to do.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of complications with living for a long, long time. We're not evolved / designed to do that.
Or I have a necklace full of micro SDs, and I just have there my life periods hanging.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're bringing shit back from that year? Wait up.
Maybe that's what you'd have to do. I don't know. Never tried it.
Yeah,
but yeah, so being immortal is not as easy as you might think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's my science behind science fiction for this, 17-minute short movie, which had a lot of depth.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
It always impresses me. We have, and this had, like you said, it has a lot of depth. 17 minutes worth of movie. We have been on this for about 2 hours and a half. So
yeah. And I was going to say that we had next to no warning we were going to cover this one, so I feel I did pretty well.
Oh, we did. We all did, man. And it was fun. It was fun material. Even though today's my first day that I watch it, I rewatched it today more than 6 times.
Yeah.
And I will get new stuff out of it. That's how good it is.
Yeah. So highly recommend this IP. I think I highly recommend all of Love, Death and Robots. Very varied with the content, and you get a lot of different takes on different styles of science fiction.
Oh yes,
and it's all great storytelling. So Love, Death and Robots can't recommend it enough.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, I think that will conclude this episode. But before I close, I want to ask you guys: do you guys know the game about iLadies?
No.
No? About iLadies nuts on your screen.
Okay.
He just had to, didn't he?
Yeah.
He just had to.
Yeah. It's a must. It's in its DNA.
He had to have it. It was meant to be. It was too easy to. Well, I want to thank everybody for being with us and putting up with my shit.
Yeah.
This was a fun episode. We hope that you enjoyed. We do it for your enjoyment. So feel free to join us in our Discord channel where we are always active there. It's always fun in there. And Most of the time, either we're doing watch parties, or I am there streaming video games too. And we're always chatting and sharing about IPs and things that we love, anime, manga. We have channels. There's a channel for everything, and if there's no one, come and join us and let us know so we can change that too. Uh, we also have a website. You can see there on the screen. The barcode is sciencefictionremnant.com, where we have actually great quality articles. I've written some. Robert written a lot of them too, and we have also guest writers that are part of it. If you have something cool to write about that is science or sci-fi related, the more reason for you to join our community. The other website that we have is for the hashtag that we have. This is sci-fi, and the website is this is sci-fi.net. Uh, Go and check it out. It's a cool network. There's not much prerequisite. Robert, they have to be content creators or sci-fi lovers. That's it, right?
Yeah, very much.
Um, Also, uh, I would love to have a Shure microphone, but we're hobbyists. We don't have money for that shit. But if you like to help, I would love to have a shirt. So get on our Patreon page and just be part of us having Shure microphones so we can look actually a lot more cooler, right, Robert? Any support is appreciated. This is not free. Most of it is coming out of personal resources. We do appreciate, anyways, any help. It doesn't have to have the commitment of a Patreon. It could be also buy me a coffee. You know that I'm a coffeeholic. I love drinking my coffee. So if you go and get us buy me a coffee, I can have my latte with almond milk or cashew milk. Super delicious. Um, it's a way to help. There's no commitment. Anything always given is appreciated. Uh, you gotta remember too, if you wanna call and leave us a voice message, and we can play it on our episode if you like. Questions that you have for us too. There's another way to reach out to us is by calling to the 305-563-6334. I repeat, 305-563-6334. And you can leave us a voice message. We can play it on the next episode. If you want to leave a question, we'll play it too and give you the best answer we can muster. It's another way to interact with the show. So don't forget to drop us a message in there. So thank you all for joining us. Check on our back catalog for IPs that you might enjoy that we have covered in the past also. Feel free to reach out again in Discord and let us know what you'd like us to cover, something that you like that we haven't gone through yet. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.